and welcome back to Fancy Lady Talks with me, Rosie Betts, and Marissa Boyce.
Hi.
Hey. Come for the boobs, stay for the brains. I got no boobs today.
Yeah, they're there.
They're there. They're just like covered.
Yeah.
We're just not doing the cleavage because, you know what, sometimes the brains are enough, guys.
That's right, and we got some important stuff to talk about today.
We're talking about sex.
Woo, before we get into that, though, just want to remind you to subscribe to our channel if you like our content and click like.
Yes.
So that we can continue making these amazing videos for you.
Indeed. I just want to point out that right now, as we're sitting, it's like there's a yoni.
It's true. Oh my God.
We can't squish it with our boobs. It's just going to be a distracting, beautiful yoni.
It's true. It looks great. So suggestive.
It's so suggestive. I'm going to move my hand right here. Okay. You can still see the yoni, so be distracted the whole time. It's fine. So today we are talking about when to have sex when you're dating. Like, when is appropriate? When does it feel good?
Yeah.
All those things. And also the concept of
slow dating.
Slow dating.
This kind of goes along with all the topics we've been talking about so far, which is how to heal from trauma bonds, how to know you're in a trauma bond. So along with that comes this idea of taking it slow when we're dating. Whoa.
What? From two people who don't do anything slowly ever. So, yeah, this has kind of come up because this is something that Marissa and I have been exploring in our own lives this year as we've been doing all this work around trauma bonds and exploring new ways to date. And it has been, I can only speak for myself, but it has been so different from the way I usually do things.
Me too.
Right?
It's completely changed everything.
Right? Like, I am really happy to be super slutty out in the world. I have historically liked to have sex really quickly, and I've historically been like, oh, I like you. You seem nice. Let's get naked. That would be the perfect first step to getting to know each other.
For me, it's like, oh, we're going on a date or two, maybe. And
you get to date number 2.
Maybe. And then, oh, we're having sex. I guess you're now my boyfriend.
Yes. Well, and see, I wouldn't commit to the boyfriend part, but I would just be like, oh, we're going to have sex now. And then sometimes the person you're sleeping with all the time, then becomes your boyfriend down the line.
Well, that too, yeah. I mean, that's what it's based on. So.
Or your girlfriend or non-binary lover, whatever you choose. And for me, it's often been all of the above, depending.
It's true. And I mean, I think a lot of people can relate to this.
I think so too. I think it's not unusual for those of us who are pretty highly passionate and sensual to find somebody who feels good physically, who feels like a reasonable match for us or a good match for us physically, and then think that, oh, this is it now. This is the person I should be involved with.
Exactly. We are mistaking chemistry for compatibility.
Yeah. And that, I think, is the key point. So what I have been discovering this year, those of you who have known a little bit about my journey of first abstinence, celibacy for 8 months.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and then taking it very slowly and reconnecting with an old friend and then deciding, you know, over a period of months that we would actually make love. What I've discovered is that by having this time of slowness, I'm able to do all these other things that create a space so that I can be discerning about who actually is going to be healthy and compatible in my life. And that's even, you know, I don't particularly want a partner right now. That's not what I'm looking for. I would like an ongoing lover or lovers. And I've had, prior to being locked down in the world, a couple of lovers that I was seeing. And it was a completely different journey because I was able to discern prior to us being sexual that these people were people I actually was compatible enough to have in my life right now, where it was going to be an ongoing healthy connection.
Wow, that's so different.
That's so different. It is different. Let me tell you, it is different.
And for me, like, I'm a serial monogamist. Like, I you know, I've spent most of my life just always being in relationships with partners. And recently I've been like, what if I was just taking my time and getting to know people And exploring, who is this person even, exploring what are they like as friends? What if we just got to know each other first? Imagine.
Crazy.
I know, and it's actually been amazing. Like, I've been learning so much about myself, about men, about just what it means to actually value taking my time, looking at, well, what is this person's values? Did they line up with mine?
Yes.
Are there any red flags? What should I do about that? And then really just taking my time. And what I'm discovering is like higher quality men are showing up in my life for this reason.
Well, and you know what I'm finding is that the two people that I've had as lovers, I knew who they were before we entered into a sexual relationship. I really felt deeply respected by both of them, continue to, because it's not like we're like, oh, we can't see each other, so we're not even friends anymore. We're still friends and in communication all the time. So there was a space of already feeling respected, honored. I knew that they were invested in my feelings and my well-being because that was already set up before the sexual component came into play. And you know what, we had a great basis for communication because there was all this time. And so when we went to make love, like really high quality sex.
And I mean, that's what people, I think that's where I was getting it wrong, is I thought if I waited, I wouldn't have that feeling, maybe. Yeah. Or it wouldn't be as exciting, right? So it's almost like taking that risk was so exciting. And now I'm learning that actually this is exciting. Taking my time is exciting in a different way. I mean, in a totally different way.
Well, and I think, for me, there was a space of feeling a deep empowerment by just being able to sleep with who I wanted when I wanted, and not having it be dictated by, say, a societal norm. And so I think that was really valuable. But I've moved into a space now where what I want is different. I want to have deep connections with the people that I'm physically intimate with.
That's right.
I want to have an actual true level of intimacy that goes beyond the physical. Also from a tantric standpoint, so prior to tantra, I was like happy to slut around. I was in an open marriage for 16 years and very happy to this person feels like a good match physically, let's just do it. But from a tantric standpoint, what I'm realizing is that, I not only am them soaking up their energy, I'm soaking up the energy of anybody else they've been intimate with. And so for me, I need to create great discernment about whose energy I'm willing to have in my field. And let me tell you, it's not many people, period. Right?
Exactly.
So that's why now, in a year since I had stopped having sex with my last partner, I've made love to 2 people.
Right. I mean, when we start thinking about that, about the energetics of it as well, you can really understand why being discerning about who you're having sex with is important.
Well, and I think there's so many different reasons, right? Why bringing that discernment so energetically, but also, yes, maybe you can have great sex with somebody on the, I had some way more great one-night stands than bad one-night stands. They were fun and they were sexy, but the quality of the sex that I'm having with the people that I'm making love to now, as well as the emotional component, whereas I feel completely comfortable to reach out to them, to ask for some aftercare, if that's what I need, to say I'm feeling vulnerable.
Exactly.
To be completely open is right there because we've already communicated those things.
Well, and that's intimacy, right?
Yeah.
So I think, for me anyway, just mistaking sexual chemistry with intimacy was where, a lot of issues came up for me, where I actually didn't feel safe with the people I was with because I wasn't setting it up for intimacy. I was setting it up for, great sex and, fun, but there wasn't a level of intimacy where I could even ask for my needs to be met. Right?
Totally.
And then if I did ask for my needs to be met, they were like, what do you mean, right?
Yeah.
And then I'd feel let down and ashamed and like I didn't deserve to ask for something.
Well, and I think if you've experienced any past trauma, which is most of us, I would say a great majority of the world, what is very normal for us to do, so we do this in trauma bonds on an emotional level, is we go and try to find somebody so we can replay the trauma.
That's right.
And find closure. Mm-hmm. But what ends up happening is we get re-traumatized, but physically, in a sexual sense, we do the same thing.
That's true.
Right? So if our experience has been that we're not safe in sex.
That's right.
Right? Or that we've had abuse happen, then often we're going to unconsciously create a scenario where we're going to replay that if we're jumping in. Whereas when you put this pause there, you can take a look and say, okay, like, you know, am I getting, you know, the words and the actions, are those lining up from the person?
Exactly.
You know, when I say to this person, hey, I'd like to go slow, I'm not into making love right away, it's going to take some time and some building of trust, what is their response?
Yeah, are they going to stick around?
Yeah.
Right?
Or are they like, and you know what, to say this, you know, I'm not like, I don't want to gender this in any way, or I don't want to make other people wrong, because certainly for a long time in my life, if somebody was like, I want to take it slow, I would be like, bye-bye, see ya. I would like, you know, like, nope. Why are we here?
What's even the point?
What's the point? Get naked or hit the door.
Well, I think for me too is like there is a sense of if I could have sex quickly with someone, I would have control somehow, right? Because it's like, oh, you want me now, right? So now it's almost like you need to stay with me because we have this bond now. And I think that is sort of the definition of what a trauma bond is.
Totally. Well, and it's also, you know, I think I'll speak for both of us just because I know Marissa well, but it's part of like the fancy things that we pull out.
Totally.
Right? It's like, look, I'm so good at this and I'm so good at this. And also when I get naked, I'm better at everything.
That's right. Good at everything.
And I look fabulous.
That's right.
You can find my pictures on the internet. You can check that out for the truth. Right now.
Right now. Google it.
Google it.
Oh, we could put a link.
We could put a link. Actually, put a link to my Patreon. I'm naked there pretty much every day.
So, I mean, let's talk about what that might look like then. Like, if somebody is like, hey, I want something different, you know? And honestly, like, if you're wanting to just jump into having sex, go for it. Like, that's your deal. But
absolutely.
If you're watching this
power
video,
to you.
Yeah, and if you're watching this video and you're like, you know, I would like to try something different. I am interested in this idea of slow dating. We thought we'd talk about, like, what are some parameters for that? How do you go about doing that?
Yeah. So I would say, first of all, well, we're going to have a couple other videos. So we're going to talk in depth around communication with slow dating and around vulnerability. I wanted us to do sex first because...
What a surprise.
Right? It's because of my favorite. So we're going to do sex first. So know that other stuff will be coming. But I would say the parameters around the sex is I will give advice that is different from many other people, but I think it's on point, which is talk about sex the first time. Right? Not in a sexual way, not in an erotic way. You're not getting into, oh, now we're sending each other naked pics, but you're like, hey, just so you know, I'm not going to be ready to be intimate for a while.
Like setting a boundary right away.
Exactly.
Yeah, being clear.
Being clear about what your intentions are and what that's going to look like for you.
Yeah, for me, I found how this is working for me is like not leading with my sexuality, right? Because, you know, I've gotten into the habit of like, I can look fancy, I can look great, and I like looking attractive. But I think in the past I've used that in a way like I'm leading with that. Yeah. And now I'm more like, no, I'm leading with my whole person. I'm smart, I'm ambitious, I'm funny, you know, like all these things that are all a part of me. So if I'm leading with that, then a person can take me as my whole person and not just as sexuality.
And it's about taking time to really get to know who that other person is. So when you're working from that trauma bond, it's all about, ooh, I need to do this. I need to show up like this. I need to be fancy. Right. I need to, show that I'm good enough to get the approval.
That's right.
And to get the love. That's the trauma bond, right? When you're coming from the concept of I am enough and slow dating, it's about, hey, who are you?
That's right.
And it's not about making them then prove that they are enough. It's not that at all. It's about saying, are we going to be compatible enough to make sense for us to be this intimate with one another? are we going to have enough fun outside of the bedroom? Do we have things to talk about that don't relate to sex? And let me tell you, like many of my lovers, we had nothing else to talk about. And some of my relationships, there was not much to talk about aside from sex.
Who needed to talk?
Who needed to talk? We just like love each other. This is the way. It's so good and beautiful.
And I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But I think when you get to the place where like, I'm craving some deep and true intimacy in my life. I want more, right?
Yeah.
Then we can look at this. We can say like, how do I get more? Well, it's about doing things a little bit differently.
It is. It's about deeply exploring who that other person is and allowing them to explore who you are, and then bringing in the eroticism, knowing that it's going to be juicy at that point. Yeah. And certainly sometimes you can hit hurdles with eroticism at that point, right? You can feel oh, I'm connected on all these levels, and you go to connect around sex and it's like, ooh, actually that's a no. We don't connect there at all. But that's also okay. It's all about creating deeper and deeper clarity as to what is your path with this person.
So I love that. And I've been having, with my friendships with men that I'm forming, I've been having conversations about sex that aren't sexual. They aren't like, oh, we're flirting. It's more about like matter of fact, talking about what are the values we hold around sex, like what interests us in that area. What have our past experiences been like? And it's just been this sort of healthy exchange around sex that's been really exciting.
Well, you know what I've found with my lovers, which is really interesting, because I've also led with sex a lot, and I have, I've got 1 million naked pictures on my phone from work. And I can talk about sexuality, and I can talk about eroticism, and I've written books of erotica. Like, that's all stuff that's part of who I am. What I've found really interesting is that even now that we're lovers, because we've transitioned from friendship into being lovers, but still with a strong onus on our friendship, is there's this like kind of gentle, cute, like, oh, are we flirting right now? Or is it okay to flirt?
Exactly.
Right? Like, where are we at the moment? And it's quite sweet. And it can be very, very hot when we jointly choose it to be. And there's a deep relief for me that I'm not having to feel like I'm being sexualized or sexualizing myself all the time.
Well, and I'm used to the objectification. Like, I'm used to being objectified in relationships, and then also objectifying myself, because that's just what I'm used to.
Totally.
And I no longer need to do that, right? I can show up in my full capacity as being, attractive, smart, accomplished, and not be objectified.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what, like, to make a quick point here, is you can find somebody attractive, you can get really sexy with them, you can bring in the erotic component and not objectify them or invite them to objectify you.
Exactly. Or you can set up objectification in a safe and consensual way inside your relationship if you both agree to that,
well,
right?
Well, I would say I don't think that's objectification though anymore. If it's safe and consensual and
that's true.
And I don't think that's objectification, because you don't see that person as an object. You're appreciating.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, you're maybe appreciating their sexuality or aesthetic, but you see them actually as the full person.
That's true.
At that point.
Yeah. I think what I was doing in the past was like presenting myself in a way that was like, I'm not a full person. I'm just, a sexual object. And that was comfortable for me because it meant that I didn't really have to be vulnerable.
Totally. Keeps people at arm's length, right? If you were just, and that was something like, say, in my pro-dom work, is, I never shared much with my clients about, even though they could find me pretty easily, like they pretty quickly knew I was Rosie Bits, and some of them would come to shows, some of them would see me on the street with my kids, but that is an armor in itself, being like, I am only this, or this is the only part of me you're gonna get. And when we bring it into our relationships, it's because often we've been deeply wounded.
It's true.
Right? And it keeps us from intimacy. It's a way of, it's that unhealthy dynamic where we also call into somebody into our lives who's going to step into being willing to objectify us, because there's healthy people are generally not going to be.
That's
They're going to be like, I want a full person.
That's right.
I want to fuck your brains out, and
who are you?
I want to actually know who you are and be able to have a conversation with you afterwards.
Isn't that the ideal?
Yes, everybody, we're here to let you know you can be excited to fuck somebody's brains out and actually have a long conversation, not about sex. Afterwards, the two things can go hand in hand, but probably it's going to take some time of moving slowly so you know that if that's the person that you're compatible with to do that.
Well, I think that covered a lot.
I think that covered a lot, guys. So let us know your thoughts. I want to know if you're rushing in, if you're sluts, like myself. Perhaps my friend. I won't speak for her. But definitely me. Or if you are used to going slow and how it's been working.
Yeah, and if you are interested in this concept of slow dating, watch our series. We're going to cover a few more topics around that, and ask us any questions you have in the comments.
Totally. Okay, love you.
Bye for now.